DoubleShot, really the first three products that are all steel. Now we're going to start stepping into some of these products that have these higher density shots in there. That's TSS and bismuth. The first one we're going to do here is Last Call DoubleShot.
Yeah, so Last Call DoubleShot has a custom blend of steel and TSS, so that high density 18 gram per cc tungsten shot. So when we cut this one open, we'll see two different shot types. The TSS shot is really small, so it's hard to see underneath some of the bigger steel pellets, but you know it's in there. We'll try to move the shot around to see it, but that is what makes that load so much more effective. Carries the energy further, fills out your pattern more because there's like 30% more pellets in that payload because you put the TSS in there, and the TSS actually makes up 30% of those pellets.
Yep.
So it makes it a very full pattern, and I'm excited to see what it looks like when we shoot it.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of times people ask, well, why are the shot sizes different? Like, why do you use a number 9 on TSS and you use a 2.5 on steel? And it's all about that density. So those pellets, those number 9 pellets, believe it or not, weigh pretty close to a 2.5 steel. But they're also very aerodynamic.
Yep.
And they're gonna fly very true, and they're gonna retain a lot of velocity and energy. So you're right, when we cut these things open, you're gonna be surprised to see how much smaller these pellets are than the steel. But then when we put it on that target, on that gel, you're gonna be surprised to see how much damage and how deep those little pellets can actually penetrate. And that's really the key behind the TSS.
Yep. Well, let's cut one open and check it out.
Okay. So now that we've dumped this shot out, you can see in here just the difference in the pellet sizes. I mean, most of that stuff there at the bottom, that's the TSS. So you can see just how much smaller it is than these number 2 steel pellets. And when you look at the steel, this is the 2.5, so it's got that copper plating on there.
Yep.
Very precision, you know, pellet to pellet is so similar. And that's really what's going to help us with those premium steel loads and help that steel travel as we're going down range.
Yeah, we saw a pattern earlier, and that's why we use it here too. Pair the premium shot with the premium TSS. So I'm ready to shoot. Let's see what it does.
Let's do it. All right, so this is 1.25 ounces, 1425, 12 gauge 3-inch, 2.5 steel, number 9 TSS, 40 yards.
Going hot.
Nice. So that's a modified choke. Again, you can see just the sheer number of pellets on there. And the big difference, I'll say before we even go down there, and I know we're going to look at the gel, but between, say, like a final pass. So final pass has a lot of pellets in it too.
Right.
The way we do that is by using 2 sizes of steel,
yep,
which are the same density. So those number 4s, like we saw, they don't penetrate a little less than,
yep,
the 2.5s. Here, the goal is to basically have all of those pellets with similar energy or more than a standard number 2. So not only are you having these additional pellets, but you're also have that additional energy in all of the pellets.
Yep, yep, that's the secret to TSS. Yep, it's going to penetrate deeper too because it has less resistance going in, just like it has less air resistance, so it doesn't lose velocity as much when it hits the gel. It has less resistance on the gel, so it can really penetrate deep and deposit energy.
So let's go check it out. Yeah.
Man, look at all the pellet holes there. You can see the 9s are a little smaller than the 2.5. This is the brightness of the green showing through. You know, like 9, 9, 9, 9, 9. There's some 2.5s, 2.5s.
Yeah, and that's
pretty obvious.
Pattern density, again, is one of these things we talk about when we're using TSS. And one of the things we do see with TSS when we add that to a payload or even in the full up last call, it can tighten those patterns up. They fly so true, they fly so straight that they really go after that point of aim, which is really great. And it kind of shows here where you just really hammered the middle of that target.
Yep. You can almost open the choke up a little bit. But that's going to be great at a range further than 40 yards.
And if you remember looking at those pellets, so beforehand, and I'm not gonna give this away or anything before you look at the gel block, but I think you're gonna be very surprised if you've not seen this before with TSS, that those little bitty pellets, you'd think, wow, how could they penetrate as much and put as much, you know, damage on target as a number 2.5 steel? Well, take a look.
Yeah, the density is just gonna keep carrying that energy.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty impressive. I mean, so this is the same number 2.5 steel that we had in Final Pass. Very similar to a standard number 2 steel, a little smaller, but I'm still getting about 3.5 inches of penetration, I'll call it, with those 2.5 steel. But when you get up close here, because they're small in this block, but all of these number 9 TSS pellets are,
I'm gonna guess an inch deeper, just by looking at it.
yeah, if not an 1.5 inches. These pellets here are 4 3/4 inch deep. Some are almost 5 inches deep on these number 9 TSS. So again, a much smaller pellet, but getting that much more penetration. They're very, very aerodynamic. They cut through that tissue. They get that penetration through that energy and that density. It's pretty amazing. I mean, you will see a bit of a difference here, but that's just because TSS has that much more penetrating capability than anything steel. And you can see it on the target, you can see it in the gel, and you're really gonna see it when we start to take things like bismuth and when you start to take things like straight up last call, where we're filling this entire block up with this. But last call double shot, great product for those folks who, hey, you wanna put TSS in your game, this is a way to do it, and you're gonna be able to be a little bit more affordable than a full up last call TSS.
Yeah. Nope, that looks great, Ben, and I'm excited to see what a full TSS load is capable of, because that is this is a lot of pellets in that block.
And this is impressive. I mean, the fact that you're adding 30% more pellets to the payload, and again, these are pellets, like we said, that are pushing more than a 2.5 steel.
They're meaningful additions.
Yeah, when we're doing Final Pass, which is a great product for full up steel, the number 4, number 2.5 blend has a similar look on the paper, right?
Right.
But it's definitely different here on target. That's where the key is. That's where the additional like premium comes from, is this right here, this on target energy, the penetration that you're going to get. Pattern density there. I mean, that's a pattern that we want to see both on Final Pass and on last call double shot. But here's where you actually get that additional performance.
Yeah, you could almost get fooled by just looking at the paper, and you're trying to judge performance of a load. If you don't see the penetration that it's also delivering, you know, you're missing a piece of the puzzle.
Yep.